A huge moo to the herd, and welcome to episode 21 of our Gregicality Skyblock playthrough. So, at the end of our last episode, we had made up some MV circuits, we had made up some LV circuits using our circuit doohickey, circuit assembling machine, and we were going to look at making up some HV stuff. But between episodes, well, I realised that if you look at my tree farm, we've kind of stopped. And the reason for that is because this stainless steel chest, which if I look at this here, can take up to 90 items, is absolutely full. So what we need to do is to start using that wood for something. And the other thing is, if we look at our light fuel here, we're burning through it at a reasonable rate. I wouldn't say we're burning through it excessively, but we could probably do something better. So today's episode, what I'm going to do is focus on trying to utilize the excess wood we've got and also making a better fuel source. So what I've done over here, you'll notice that I've also expanded the base out. So we've got a lot more space. I didn't do this all by hand. If you look at my quick bar, I have a building gadget now, which is relatively simple to make. It's just an MV emitter, an emerald lens. Now, to make an emerald lens, you need 9 emeralds, which you ingest by smelting up some emerald ore chunks, and then put that into a compressor, and that gives you a block of emerald, and then put that through our cutting machine to get a plate. And take the plate and put that into the lathe to get the lens. Some polyethylene sheets. We've got plenty of polyethylene and MV circuits, which we have been making. If we go over to here, we've got 21 buckets of polyethylene. So we've got our big area over here. Now what I've done is I've taken the setup we had for making light fuel from over here, and I've replicated it up here, but I'm using MV machines. Now, I know in the last episode I was trying to decide whether I was going to stick with LV machines or switch to MV machines and so forth, but something that got to me when I was thinking about this was the MV machines, we can disable overclocking so they'll run at whatever speeds required, but we can also use the MV superconducting cables, which means that we can put these stacks on without any cable loss whatsoever, which is what I've done. So that hopefully will mean that we can build bigger towers, etc., but we're still not using excessive amounts of power. The other thing I've done, we've got another router and controller over here, and I've set up most of the stuff already. The one thing I have done is the routers are connected together using this routing connector and routing cable. This basically allows us, at the moment, if you remember in the last episode I said that routers will allow you to connect 6 different networks together if we just use standard connectors. Well, if we use the routing connectors, that means we can go from router to router, and we can have a significantly higher amount of routers. In fact, if you look at this, these are our local channels, and these are the remote channels based on our routing network. So that allows us to expand things out. So how are we going to use our trees up and at the same time make a better fuel source? Well, the fuel source we're going to make is diesel. We've got diesel generators, so why not just use diesel? If I look at just diesel, we look, it's a mixer recipe, MV mixer of light fuel. We know how to make light fuel. We have been making light fuel, and heavy fuel. So how do we make heavy fuel? Well, if we go into the recipe for heavy fuel, we just need either steam cracked light fuel. So a bucket of steam cracked light fuel will give us 50 millibuckets of heavy fuel. Not a great return. Steam cracked naphtha, again, a bucket will give us 25 millibuckets. Again, not a great return. Chemical reactor. Hydrogen, okay, we've got plenty of that. And sulfuric heavy fuel will give us, so 2 buckets of hydrogen, 8 buckets of sulfuric heavy fuel will give us 8 buckets of heavy fuel and hydrogen sulfide. Perfect. Right, so that's a 1-to-1 ratio on sulfuric heavy fuel. So how do we get the sulfuric heavy fuel? We can distill 150 millibuckets of light oil, and that gives us 10 millibuckets of sulfuric heavy fuel. Rubbish. Raw oil, or oil in this case, because I don't think I actually have raw oil. So if I go to oil, yeah, if we go to oil, okay. Where is oil? I clicked on the wrong one. Right, there it is. Recipe for oil, or use of oil. 50 millibuckets gives us 15 millibuckets of sulfuric heavy fuel. Again, not great. But if we use heavy oil, this is where you misclick and it all goes horribly wrong. So heavy fuel and chemical reactor with sulfuric heavy fuel and heavy oil. 150 millibuckets of heavy oil gives us 250 millibuckets of sulfuric heavy fuel, and we need 1 bucket of heavy fuel with 5 or 6 buckets of light fuel to give us our diesel. So how do we get heavy oil? A pyrolyzed oven with wood and a chip will give us ashes and heavy oil. So that's what the goal is today. We're going to make a pyrolyzed oven up. We're going to pipe our wood into the pyrolyzed oven, and then we'll extract the heavy fuel, pump it all into our system here, and hope we have enough channels in our thing, and then produce diesel. And then we'll use that diesel to power our diesel generators. And the diesel, we're doing some maths on this one. So at the moment, we're taking 32 millibuckets of light fuel to get 650 EU of power per second. If we do diesel, then we use 1 millibucket of diesel to get 640 EU per tick. Well, per second. I can't remember which one it is. So it seems like that would be a better option for us. So, pyrolyzed oven, what do we need for it? Well, as if by magic, here's the recipe in our shortcut bar. So we need some MV circuits, we've got those, MV machine holes we've made, electric pumps we've made, pistons we've made, and copper nickel wires, we know how to make those. And here's our multi-block. Now I'm hopeful that the hatches can actually be moved down to the bottom, and the only thing that actually has to be in the middle is the controller block itself. However, based on the chemical plant, I can't make that assumption. But I have made up most of the bits already. So, let's start. I want my input hatch to be about, right, so it's 1, 2, 2, 2. I want the input hatch to be about here. Yeah, let's pop it here. Right, so that's my input hatch and my input bus. And we don't actually need the input hatch, but again, I'm not taking any chances with this one. You stack it. And we'll put the output hatch here, and the output bus will go here. That's my output bus. Where I back off the edge and go ah. And the last one is I've made up a energy input hatch 16 amps, which is just a machine hole with 4x copper wire. This should, I hope, allow us to get higher tiers using our MV. So the other thing I've done is I've upgraded all of the superconducting cables to 2x rather than 1x, because that gives us 8 amps of current. Right, so that's that done. Next thing is our ultra low voltage machine casing. So we're just filling everything here. And then I'm going to take this and stick this. Oh, wrong one. Where's my wrench? There it is. Right, pop that there. And we'll pop our ULV casings there, and then 1, 2, 3. Next thing I need is copper nickel coil blocks. This is where I suddenly realise I haven't made enough of something. Let me just check this recipe again. No, it's an invalid structure. Yes. These don't go here. 4 coil blocks. Didn't think it looked right. Ta-da. Right, so coil block, coil block, coil block. And then coil block, coil block. Got some cobblestone to hand, great. And then we will put our ULV casings here. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And finally, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now hopefully that is a valid structure, yay! And it's at EV tier, which is a lot higher than I expected. Don't care, happy now. There's no way on earth we're going to be providing EV power to it, but we will be providing MV-ish power. Now, did I make up 2x MV cables? I did, I have some of those. The next thing to do will be to plumb it in. So let's head downstairs. And then we'll just hack away at our ceiling until we find it. I think it must be around about here. Output hatch close. Is it that way or that way? I want to say it's that way. Energy input. Yay. So on there. On there. And ooh, it's going to be tight. This is going to be very tight. They're the wrong ones. Right, I'm going to have to make up some more superconducting cable. Now, what I did do, which might be useful, is I did a fluid extractor on all our 1x stuff. Now, I don't suppose I have a ingot mold to hand. No, no. Nope. Do have one. I wonder if I can pour it into my smeltery. Let's see. Nope. I'm gonna have to make up an ingot mold. And then once I've got that, I should have steel somewhere, I hope. We'll be able to make up some more 2x cables. And I'm gonna have to make some steel up. Stainless steel is fine, but I do need steel, so that's just oxygen and iron. Well, it's actually oxygen and wrought iron. But shouldn't take too long. Right, so pause here. I'll run this through my blast furnace, and once we've got our ingot mold, we'll make up some more cables, and then we'll finish that off. So be right back. Okay, so I've made up our cables. Hopefully, yep, that's now fully charged. We need to do something about these loops. That's one of the reasons I have this floor here, so I can just hide all the cables away, so they're not running up, but it's still a bit messy. So we now have our pyrolyzer oven. What I am going to need, if I can find them, is some chips. I don't want to use those, they're my mediums. There we go. Right, so for heavy oil, we need to set it to configuration 2. Let's just set both, but we'll do for now. We'll drop that into our input hatch, no, our input bus. Sorry. And then what we'll do is we'll grab as much wood as we can fit, which will be 3 stacks. 1, 2, 3. And that's the farm back up and running again because it's got some space. We'll stick that in there. And now this is great. This is now producing the stuff that I needed. And we've got some ashes in our output bars, and we've got heavy oil being produced there. Problem is I didn't think about this. Because it's at EV tier, it's going to try and run at EV tier, which is not great. I'll have to think about that. So while I've got 8 amps, I can't provide 8 amps of power. Oh, actually, what have I set this up to? I've set this up to 16, haven't I? Yeah. I wonder if we switch this down to 4. MV energy input. And learn. What we got? We've got a 2 amp, a 4 amp, 16 amp, 64 amp, and 120 amp. So let's put it in the 4 amp one. So that should be HV tier. Machine hole, some copper cable. Let's see if I've got those. Hopefully I have. If not, I shall make them. No, I've got LV, etc. Right, let me come back in a second. We'll get that changed around. And then what we'll do is we'll look at getting that connected up to our XNet system, get some diesel made up. And the last thing we'll need to do is pipe in the wood from that tray. So be right back. Okay, we're back. So I had to do 2 things, which took me a bit longer. First of all, I've replaced this with the 4 amp version, so it still gives me HV pyrolyze. The reason I'm using HV is because for heavy oil, it's HV required, 192 EU per tick. And second of all, because I've been meaning to do this for ages, but I needed to create some more diesel generators. So we now have 1, 2, 3, 4 additional ones. So that gives me 8 amps of current, but we are now burning through our fuel considerably quicker. So that's something we're going to have to work on. Right, so next steps. So we're going to take the fluid from our output bus, which is this one here, and connect it into our XNet. I should have connectors. I do. Do I have network cables? I do. Do I have enough network cables? Probably not. So the goal, hopefully, will be to, that's the, I'm glad I left that there now. Right. Green, blue connector, that's what I want because everything else is blue. Network cable. 1, 2, 3, oh, I'm going to be 1 short. 4, 5. Well, I'm going to be removing stuff from there. I've got stuff there. I've got stuff all over the place. Yes, that's one of the things that will have to be done as a matter of urgency. Is that a red network cable? Oh. Is to tidy things up because there's stuff everywhere at the moment, and that's not good. Right, air collector, chemical reactor. Right, that one can be disconnected. So if I just borrow that one, the best one. Yeah, because I'm not using the nitrogen at the moment because I've made up a load of superconducting cables. just grab that one for the time being, and I will go and make some additional ones up between episodes. Now, that should be that. We'll name you fire output, call it fluid output. We'll go up to our controller and hope we get this right. I'm going to grab a bucket of heavy oil because we'll need that for filtering. So 1.4 buckets. And now we'd have something called fluid. Here we are. What we want to do is we want to extract. That's got a filter on. That's got on. So this one, input to the oil bucket. Yes. Right. So we want to create a. Switch this off for a second. Extract channel. And then we want to find a tank that isn't being used, which oil dist. Okay, this is distillery. That makes sense. Where are we? Tank, that's the one. So which one did I just set up for extract? Create an insert for heavy oil, and we'll re-enable this channel. And that should start putting heavy oil in here. I'll bucket in there. The next thing we want to do is to find a distiller, this thing, and we want to actually I want a bucket of heavy oil so we don't get that messed up. We want to extract from our tank with the heavy oil. So we'll switch this off quickly, create an extract, and then for our distiller here, we'll create an insert of heavy oil. Switch that on, and we will then find the distillery that doesn't have a chip in it. Do this one, and the recipe for this is use for this sulfuric heavy fuel is configuration 0. If we pop that down to configuration 0, there, that should now start producing sulfuric heavy fuel. Yay! And now we should be able to put this in the bin. Not in the bin, in the tank. And finally, now one of these chemical reactors is not being used. It's that one. So again, we'll grab a bucket of sulfuric heavy fuel. We will find the extract for the distillery. So that one is for... When is that one? That's the one I'm using. Where's the other one? Where indeed? And so this, I made this complaint at the start, but the fact that XNet is not that easy to find stuff is a bit of a shame. But it's not the end of the world. So that one there. Extract, and this one is also extract. So we want to extract from here. We'll switch this off quickly, and we want to insert into the and we want this chemical reactor here. We'll find the CR. Tank in storage. we'll see our, there's one, there's the other. So that should be create, insert for sulfuric heavy fuel, re-enable that channel, and if all is right, this will now start putting our sulfuric heavy fuel into there. Yes, so the last thing we need to do is, now the recipe for this is, I think it's 8 buckets of sulfuric heavy fuel. So we're going to need to pop a lot more wood in, and we'll do this all automatically using XNet, but I just want to get this going for the time being. And pop those down there. 2, 3, 4. Put those into our input bus. 2, 3. And this is why I want to get it done by XNet, because it'll be a bit easier. Right, so I'm going to pause here once we've got some more sulfuric heavy fuel done. Well, the last step will be to put it in the mixer and then output that to our diesel tank. So we'll be right back. Okay, so we made up the fuel. That got added to our mixer. We need to process some more light oil, but that's not the end of the world. I'm actually surprised that we haven't got more light oil running, because I've got a tank full of oil here. Which should be being distilled, but for some reason it doesn't seem to be going in there. We need to figure out why that is, because I've got heavy oil going in, no problem at all, but no light oil going into the advanced distillery. So I'll investigate that between episodes. But what we have done is our mixer is able to mix up, and we now have 18 buckets of diesel, which is brilliant. That's exactly what we wanted, because that means that we'll be able to switch over our from using light fuel, which is 32 millibuckets, to diesel, which is 1 millibucket, and provides the same amount of power. I hope. Obviously, if my maths is terrible, then that's not going to be the case at all. But we've now got a use for our wood. So the only thing I do need to do, and we'll do that between episodes because I've got to make up some more network cables, is to connect our wood chest to our input bus and keep that stocked up so that we have a constant flow of 2, 3, 4 heavy oil being made. So whilst wood was a byproduct of our production of what were we making? Polyethylene. Because we actually wanted apples and saplings. Now we're using that wood and we're making it turn it into power. So again, I call that a success, and we're starting to tidy the base up a bit. This is going to be our oil processing area. I think what I want to do is move our power generation so it's all in one area over here. So we might set up our diesel generators and a fuel tank, or we could just pipe it all in with XNet. I haven't made my mind up yet. But I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, feel free to give it a like. If you'd like to see more episodes, then please feel free to subscribe. Also, if you have any comments and feedbacks about these videos, anything that you'd like to see changed or improved, then please leave comments in the comment section below. I do want to enhance the channel a bit and make it more interesting, so any feedback is very, very useful. Until then, I wish you a very pleasant day. Goodbye.